Today we're reporting 7 new additional cases and 4 more recoveries in Saskatchewan, and this means that we are now at 109 active cases in our province. While active cases are still quite low in most parts of the province, they have been rising over the course of the past couple of weeks, particularly in the community of Saskatoon. A number of recent cases in Saskatoon are as a result of one event, a private social gathering that was attended by a number of people. There are now 21 cases that have been traced back to one gathering, and there will likely be a few more in the coming days. This is a clear reminder of why we still have restrictions in place on the size of our group gatherings. It's also a reminder that even if your gathering size is under the 30-person limit, you still have to ensure that there is proper physical distancing measures in place and available. You need to ensure that you are very careful with the service of your food and drinks, and please continue to not shake hands or hug one another, and continue to keep sanitizing and washing your hands. I know we all probably tend to relax those practices when we are in our own home or at a friend's home, a place where we feel comfortable, but those are some of the places that we need to be particularly careful. Most of the large spreader events that we have seen in Saskatchewan to date have been social settings, often involving the service of food and or drinks. And it just takes one infected person in that kind of a setting to pass the virus on to many other guests. Then they go home and they pass that virus on to their family and to other close contacts that they see over the coming days. Before you know it, we have dozens of additional cases. Some of whom may become very, very sick, or some who actually may become hospitalized. And of course, none of us want this to happen. So that's why we have to continue being very careful and cautious, even when we are just visiting with our family and friends. That's how we will keep businesses and services and activities in this province open. It's especially important now that our schools have reopened. So far, we have seen no evidence of the virus being spread within the schools. The protocols the schools have put in place are working, and I would say they're working quite well. So I would say thank you to the students, to the teachers, and to all of the staff for everything that you are doing to ensure that our classrooms are safe. However, if there are more cases in our community, it only stands to reason that some of those cases are going to be students and some will be teachers. And that's how the virus will enter our schools. That's what we have seen at a few schools in Saskatoon. So it also stands to reason that if we keep our case numbers low in our communities, we greatly reduce the chances of this virus getting into our school system. So once again, I want to thank everyone in Saskatchewan for everything that you are doing to keep yourself and others safe. And I ask you to continue doing it. It only takes one infected person letting their guard down at the wrong place, at the wrong time, to cause literally dozens of additional cases. And I know none of us want that to happen. Dr. Shahab?
Thank you, Premier. So I'll just maybe reinforce some of the key issues from our perspective over the last couple of weeks. So like the Premier mentioned, this is our second week of in-class learning. And while about 6 schools have had a single case each, and a week before opening, there was a school with staff who were, one staff member who was symptomatic, and appropriate public health action was taken. School reopening overall is going smoothly. And again, as long as children and staff who are unwell stay home, the appropriate protocols are followed. While we expect to see the occasional case or cluster in schools, we certainly look forward to schools continuing as they are with the occasional case and cluster, but otherwise things proceeding smoothly. And again, schools are a reflection of the community, so whenever community transmission goes up, that's puts schools at a higher risk. But overall, in Saskatchewan also, our case numbers have been low. There are more active cases right now in Saskatchewan due to a variety of exposures, large gathering, travel, others who may be close house and context of previous cases. But overall in Saskatchewan, our active case numbers remain low. And again, I think really want to recognize all the students, parents, and staff who worked so hard to really have a smooth start of the school year. It has started off really on a very strong footing. Saskatchewan also has been on a very strong footing, and hopefully this will continue. It is a marathon, not a sprint, and we really need to continue in this way for the next several months. And then coming to the issue with the large event, the super spreading event, again, this is exactly why the limits on gatherings at 30 continue, because we know that whenever people are close together, the risk of transmission is high. So when people are planning a Thanksgiving meal, for example, in October, it's important to remain to your extended household if possible. If you are planning a large event up to 30, think who you're inviting. Why do you want to have this larger event? Will you be able to space people out, serve food safely? That is so important. And that's why these public health orders are in place for private gatherings. In this super spreading event, more than 30 people attended, around 40 plus people attended, with 21 confirmed cases linked to the gathering, and about 160 people now contacts of people who attended the gathering. So things like this can snowball very quickly, and that's what we need to avoid as we move forward, because you can start multiple chains of transmission that can cause secondary infections. In March, before we had restrictions on gathering sizes, we had a few large gatherings where transmission happened. But since that time, we've done really well over the last 6 months. And it's really important that we continue to have that discipline for small private gatherings, respect the numbers and organize events in a safe manner. Having said that, we've also seen that other sectors of the economy where you have more people in a very organized way, like restaurants and cinemas, places of worship, that has been working really well. We've seen the occasional case, we haven't seen large outbreaks. And that again is a testament to the fact that business owners are following the guidelines very well, and customers who are going to those venues are observing the guidelines. And again, we really need to continue that, because that has kept our cases low. And while we may see an occasional case or two, we haven't seen those super spreading events, which we really need to avoid as much as possible. And finally, there's been a lot of concern throughout Canada among young people socializing and seeing an increase in transmission. We haven't seen that in Saskatchewan to that extent. And again, a shout out to young people who really seem to be following the guidelines and being very judicious in terms of socializing. And that really needs to continue. In other parts of the province, it's been the 20 to 29 age group, but now even high school students, as they go into school in a very organized way. But even if you're socializing after school, sticking to the same consistent group of friends and maintaining that physical distance among people who are not part of your small, consistent circle, I think is going to be really important as well.